Okay, call to order the council meeting. We have one addition to the agenda, which is the recommendation from the cricket pitch, for the cricket pitch, the recommendation from the planning committee. So that would be 7A, business arising.
And I will move the agenda as amended.
Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Rupp. Discussion. Those in favour? Opposed? Carried. Public participation.
Wendy Mitchell, 580 Whitty Beach Road. And it is Whitty Beach Road. I just referring to the last meeting. As far as I know, it is Weir's Beach. It's Weir apostrophe S. It just sounds bizarre hearing you say Weir Beach.
I was told by Chris Pratt that I should correct my verbiage. It's Weir Beach, not Weir's Beach.
Some people would say Chris Pratt knows, but I would go and argue with him. I would simply argue with him. He's a newcomer, you know. He may be old, but and it was Weir's Beach.
Yep.
Was it Weir's Beach to you?
It was always Weir's Beach, yeah.
And at times it used to be Taylor's Beach too. But Taylor was a transport minister in about 1910 or something, and he was nothing. So I would just like to see Weir's Beach on there. And it is variously Whitty's Beach or Whitty Beach. Pick your thing. I have, I feel pretty strongly about this. This is to do with the buffer lands and discovering that for some reason they were being put up for sale. And I had a question for Councillor Kwakila. I have a question for Councillor McKinnon and a question for Mayor Rands. Now, Kiara is not here, so I'm just going to roll my question for Councillor Kwakila into my question for you. Is that okay? I'm sure it is. So you sort of get kind of a double whammy here, Councillor McKinnon. So I'm being really blunt. I want really short answers. We've heard lots of verbiage about this. I'm done. What did you think Metchosin would gain from selling the buffer to the CRD? And it wasn't money, because you were selling it for way below the market value. Now, the question I had specifically for you was, and you can just roll these two, as financial officer, how would Metchosin benefit by selling the buffer land? What plan was presented to you to convince you that the land should be sold? Now, I don't know whether you answer right now while I stand here, or...
Well, I'm happy to, Wendy.
Okay.
Sure. It was not being done for financial means, and when it became apparent that the amount of money that would be available for green space, remaining green space, was so little, the plan was abandoned.
That's your story, and you're sticking to it. Okay.
Sure, there is a record of it. Yes.
Well, I didn't mean to come here to start arguing with you, because everything's been done in minutes and that. But it seems to me that the people of Metchosin discovered about this in the Goldstring Gazette on October 21st or something, or October 21. And it looked as though it was going ahead. And that's all I can say. So, okay, you weren't getting enough. So,
did you want me to respond to that at all, Wendy, or not?
No, not particularly, because it's just going to be the same old, isn't it? Now, as financial officer, what were you presented with? to back this breaking the agreement.
Did you want me to respond?
Yes, I do want you to respond to that.
Not sure which of these I'm to respond to and which I'm just to let it hang. But sure, as we decided when the amounts, when it became apparent what sums were available, that we weren't going to proceed, and it was abandoned.
I'll just not. Fine, thank you.
You're welcome.
John.
Yes.
Or, pardon me, Mayor Rand.
John's good enough.
Yeah. So I do have a little preamble, not a lot of preamble, but the land swap was the result of long, intricate negotiations initiated by Marley Milne. Reconciliation was the prime principle, and it was presented to the public, freely discussed, and put to a referendum. And we are proud of the agreement and the protection it gives to Metchosin. Selling the land without public knowledge is a breach of trust to us and to the other signatories. It's an insult to Morley's memory and the council's intent. And I say, shame on you. And do I have a question for you? Do I want to hear you skate around the truth again? Do I want to hear you talk about Mary Hill as the red herring again? Mary Hill is irrelevant. It's a diversion. It's a premise that's not even on the table in this conversation. So my question, I guess, when I finally get to it, is what is missing or wrong with the 2017 agreement? Why did you think you had to change it?
Wendy, there's nobody in this municipality that would like to be able to answer you directly more than me. But I am constrained by agreements that we have signed, made, and cannot tell you, much to my objections, I cannot tell you the reasons that were discussed in terms of why we were contemplating selling. I can tell you this, that it is not ever been contemplated that we would have sold this without public input.
Without what?
Public input. This land would not have been sold without public input.
It certainly looked as though it was being sold. The notice was placed in the newspaper.
Well, unfortunately, there's lots of things that look like what may have happened. That is not what happened. And I just cannot tell you the real reasons.
So
period.
You're going to what I consider a fallacious argument. You're talking about the red herring of the Mary Hill, and that. The fact of the matter is there was an agreement with Chena Nation, with Langford, and with us, and we all voted on it. There was a lot of education, a lot of information about it, and we signed up. It was not an easy decision for people to do. It was not an easy decision. And we did it. And now, sorry, but you just come. No matter what you say, that land was put up for sale with CRD. So someone was sitting in a CRD room and said, oh boy, we'll make this into a park. And
You've heard what I had to say, Wendy. I would more than anybody in this municipality would like to be able to give you the full answers.
Well, it's all going to come out sometime.
It will.
And
sooner the better. And if my influence has anything to do with it, it will be sooner rather than later.
I don't think it's going to look good. And I think Morley would be very upset. And I know another past councillor who is pretty puzzled and upset by it too. Nothing we can do about it. We're simply electors, and we have an election coming up.
Thank you, Wendy. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Bonnie Boover. I'm a Neil Road resident, and as at today, and as an adjoining property owner, I have not received a letter from the district regarding the buffer land, part of the public engagement process. But you know, I'm wondering at this point if it's even necessary. I am of the notion that because you have received many letters, 2 petitions, and many comments at council meeting public participation sessions, you probably don't need to have any more information. And we definitely don't need an online survey. Ideas come up along the way, but in my opinion, this is not a good one, and I think it's a waste of time and money. After finding out many details from the FOI process and a statement from the CAO on the district website, it is now even more important to uphold the integrity of the land swap referendum of 2017. This buffer land issue came to the surface because at one time, council was going to sell this land to the CRD. We didn't vote on that sale, nor did we vote on the sale to anyone else for that matter, nor did we vote on it becoming a park of any definition or jurisdiction. And we didn't vote on it as part of some deal regarding the Maryhill property. In closing, I would just like to say, please get back to the basics, the basic definition of a buffer land, and importantly, stay on the path of the referendum that was voted on in 2017. You must find a way to get back on track. This issue has gone off the rails, in my opinion, and it's costing us all too much time, money, and headache. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No, we'll move on then to...
Sorry.
Okay.
So, Avril Yoakum, Windfall Road. There was a letter January 31st of this year, district letter from Tammy to CRD Real Estate Service, describing the buffer location, saying the letter indicates that the District of Metchosin isn't proceeding until environmental assessment and public consultation completed. So I was under the understanding from Councillor Kakawila that it was stopped. That's the word she used. The sale to the CRD was stopped. But according to this letter, it sounds like it's just halted until the assessment and consultation is done. So now that I'm hearing there is a type of public engagement and a sort of environmental assessment, maybe that's just me ask, does this mean you're contemplating selling to the CRD again? Because if you're not, why are you doing those? Are you prepared to go back to the original agreement that it's a buffer and that it's not for sale? Yeah, that's a question.
That is a question?
Yeah.
I think I can answer that.
Go ahead.
If you obtain records through an FOI and you haven't received the context behind all the records, that record that you're referring to was the CRD asking the district many months later after they resolved, I think on October 25th, to not proceed with the sale with the CRD based on an isolated offer, a low appraisal, and community concerns. That letter was closing off the books for the CRD. The CRD Real Estate Division asked for a letter from the district confirming their decision.
Which was?
What you just read out.
Okay, so you're not planning to sell to the CRD, period, or until an assessment is done?
That was, so
course.
I can only speak to why that letter is that date, and I won't speak to anything else.
Okay, so I guess all I'm saying is because there's an assessment theoretically coming up and a public engagement of sorts, an online survey that anybody can fill out, why would you be doing that if you're not going to go back and honor the original agreement? There isn't a need for an assessment or a public information. It was already voted on. The people already decided. So if you can't answer.
Well, I wasn't sure what the question is, but I think that the answer in regards to the survey is that Councillor Little was embarking on a public process because there was community concern in regards to it.
Correct. But that got taken away and landed up on Councillor McKinnon and Councillor Cockawillis. And I think the wording is kind of changed because now it's an online survey. That's not public engagement by any means.
I think you're making a lot of assumptions based on some presumptions you may have in regards to your FOI material, and they are not correct. Even in regards to it being taken away is not correct.
Well, that's not an FOI. That happened, what, last council meeting?
Yeah, we need to move, go past 10.
I'll move to go past 10. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Rapp. Discussion, those in favor? Going past 10?
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion carries.
And if I may, just simply in response. In response to your question, or one of your questions, Avril, I offered at one of our council meetings to take the lead on trying to pull together some questions for Metchosin residents because Councillor Little was unavailable for a couple of meetings due to some personal issues she was dealing with, and we wanted to try and keep things to her schedule as much as we could. So I put my hand up and offered to help pull some of this information together. That was my involvement with it. That was for letters that were to be mailed out to residents of adjacent properties.
Okay, and then there's the online survey, which you admitted, or there's a question there.
Yes, the intent is that there would also be material available via an online survey so that other people in Metchosin could have input beyond the adjacent properties. So yes, there was definitely contemplated ways to involve other community input beyond the letters that would go out to adjacent property owners.
So my question again is, why would you do that when we have an agreement that's been signed off 5 years ago? Why would you consider dragging in all Metchosin residents to again have input on an opinion on the buffer? There was a purpose to the buffer that people voted on, and now you're renegotiating on the use of it?
I'll simply mention that we've had correspondence written an email from Metchosin residents who want to have a trail that they can walk through there, who want to have a trail they can ride a horse through that property. We have correspondence from residents who want absolutely nobody to ever access that property. So there has been expressed to us a wide range of opinion about what should happen with that property. Not that it should be a green space or a buffer of some sort, but whether it's banned to all human presence, whether a person is allowed to hike through it, whether equestrians are allowed to use the property. And I can show you correspondence from Metchosin residents who are adamantly opposed to that and residents who are demanding it. So,
You know, that doesn't matter. There was an agreement made and signed off on it. So what was the original intention for the buffer in the agreement?
the agreements that were brought forward and voted on by the municipality, and John and Lisa were more involved with it than me, so they may correct me here, but they had to do primarily with land ownership and intent, and didn't get into whether a trail could go here or there. There was none of that in the agreement that took place, or whether equestrians would be allowed or barred. And those are the sorts of questions that form part of the questionnaire that was being mailed out to people.
So was that just poor planning?
I don't know of a single protected area that's been established anywhere in British Columbia that had a fully fledged management plan in place before it was established as a protected area.
Okay, I'm going to let you off the hook now, Andy. But we could be first to have a completely protected area, just to live up to the agreement.
I'm going to keep this really brief, 3 hours and 7 minutes, folks. I'd like to speak to a slightly different Chris Moore, 4545 William Head Road. I'm here because, as you all know, I understand, we have the UBCM meeting coming up very soon, and I trust that at least some of you are planning on attending that. I know what I'm speaking to is not on tonight's agenda, but we're kind of at the 11th hour with respect to that conference. So it's very late. You don't have to respond this evening unless you can put it in a few words. Anyway, my request to you is to present a motion at UBCM or support the same if it happens to come to the floor, to return the length of time an elected official serves, i.e. to reduce their term of office from 4 to 3 years. And I got a couple of reasons for this. 2, actually. A 4-year term is extremely daunting to new folks seeking office, and quite possibly to some folks, incumbents, thinking of doing another run. And if the public, secondarily, if the public makes the wrong choice, and this happens, i.e. if a municipality elects somebody who's not a good fit or turns out not to be a good fit for that office, they're stuck with those people for 4 long years. And I could flag the city of Victoria as the case in point on that one. So I would ask, my request is, if you're not able to discuss this tonight, please give it your very, very close attention in advance of the UBC meeting, and if that motion is not out there, please put it there.
Yeah, Chris, I think it's probably too late for us to push that forward, but I would be surprised if there isn't some variation of it on the going to be on the agenda anyways.
Okay. My request still stands, and it's never too late.
This is very widely discussed, the length of the 4-year term being too long. I know I spoke against it when they brought it in at the UBCM, and inevitably it is supported by the larger urban municipalities on the mainland. So that's
I know, I understand
that's the problem that we have. And if you take a look at any of the interior municipalities, or most of them, and the smaller municipalities, it's almost universally agreed that the 4-year term is just not right. Doesn't work for us.
If you have the opportunity to put it out there, please do.
Councillor Rudd?
I was just going to say it did come up. I think it was at the last UBC
Okay.
It comes up each time, and you're
I'm sure.
absolutely right.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else? We'll move on then to the adoption of the minutes. Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Rupp. Discussion? Those in
Yep,
favor?
I have a comment. So this was a meeting when I wasn't there. There's some comments on here that are not correct. I'd like to move that this discussion, this be tabled, postponed, and discussion regarding the mayor's report be an in-camera item, as well as I'd like to see the minutes for the 5 meetings that were noted here. As the public is aware, we receive an in-camera agenda like this, and then we're asked to give it back. And so I don't have a record of all of those minutes to corroborate what is being said. And also, I disagree with what was being said. I realize that these minutes are a minute of the meeting that I wasn't at, but the Local Government Act says that the minutes are supposed to be accurate. So I'd like to have an in-camera discussion regarding the mayor's report, and I'd like to have all the minutes of the 5 meetings available to all the councillors so we can have a discussion regarding this. And I would ask for these minutes to be tabled until another meeting.
The minutes were.
I'll speak to it.
Yeah, okay.
So the minutes, Councillor Little, were distributed to all of Mayor and Council by way of the in-camera agenda, and the minutes are correct. You are correct about they need to be a true reflection of what took place, and there is a video stream that you could also be taking and watching to ensure that the minutes were recorded correctly.
Okay, so I repeat my request that I would like to have a copy of all of those meetings, and if this is accurate, which that's the word used in the Local Government Act, this is an accurate reflection, then that's fine. But I would like to have a discussion regarding this. I would also like to have a discussion regarding Mayor Ranz's apology to the owners at Swannock Farm. So that is request.
The in-camera minutes are available to any councillor. Just ask staff and they will bring them out to you and show you. So you don't, it doesn't have to be anything supplied. I mean, you can just come in any time and do it. Understanding the constraints. So, Lisa, you can make those available to you tomorrow if you'd like. There's other in-camera meetings that took place right from the beginning of the term that you are certainly entitled to look at as well as a councillor.
And so I would like an in-camera meeting. This should be an item on the future in-camera meeting, please.
Certainly. Be happy to. As for the adoption of the minutes, these are the minutes of what transpired. As Lisa has said, there's a video record. We've had a professional consultant taking the minutes. So the approval of the minutes is an approval that they reflect what actually happened at the meeting and what I said at the mayor's report. If you dispute what I said at the mayor's report, well, then that's an item of a different nature. But I would suggest that you take a good close look at the minutes that you will be provided with before you go any further with this.
What do you mean before I go further with this?
Well, I mean,
Before it gets brought forward to the next camera meeting.
Okay, well, I have reviewed the video, and I would like to have a discussion regarding the content of these minutes.
And we
not
certainly
the
can do-
accuracy of it. I'm not calling into question the accuracy of the person that recorded this. I'm calling into question the content. And so I'd like to have a discussion at a future in-camera meeting to have this on the agenda.
Councillor McKinnon.
So just to keep things straight in my mind here, our approval of the council meeting minutes from the last council meeting is a recognition that it's an accurate reflection of what was said at that meeting. Sure. And I think your questions are about whether what was said at that meeting was in itself accurate. And so we can approve the council meeting minutes tonight as being an accurate reflection of what was said at the last council meeting, and then go on from there.
So I'll have to abstain from that vote because I wasn't here, and you knew I wasn't going to be here for my Europe vacation. I wasn't on leave, I was on vacation. So I will abstain from this vote.
So, call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Move on then to, I'm going to waive the mayor's report because of the late hour. We'll move on then to business arising, which is the recommendation from the planning committee regarding the cricket club.
Move the recommendation.
Moved by Councillor Rapp.
I'll second that.
Second by Councillor Little. Discussion. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Move on then to the staff report regarding the development variance permit at Pears. What's your wish? Do we issue the development variance permit?
Yeah, I'll move option 1.
Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Epp. Discussion?
Yeah, did Councillor Kahakawila have any comments regarding this? I attended the site visit with her. They had a private discussion afterwards, and I'm just wondering if she had any additional comments that I wasn't privy to.
Councillor Kahakawila was in favor of this, I believe. Yep. Yep. Any further discussion, Councillor Little?
I just have a question. So the structure, what just so I'm reading this right, is the driveway going to be reconstructed?
They will move the 5 meters, I believe. We agreed that it would be appropriate to move the. Was it 5 meters? I think it was 5 meters. Was it?
So
You'd be pushing the driveway over a little bit and moving the building a little closer towards the primary residence.
right. So that the owner originally wanted 2 variance permits, right? Or two?
No. Just the one.
Variance. So he's still having the variance in regards to it not being as close to the house as it is required, the 15 meter setback. It is.
It's yeah.
Sorry, I'm just. I know that it has gotten changed in regards to that.
It's in the report.
Yeah, it's in the actual objective.
Yep.
Yeah, right in the first paragraph.
Okay, any further discussion? Those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Just one comment. In the future, could we have the name of the planner, the name of the chief administrative officer? Nice to see who the planner was, and also the community hasn't been introduced to the new planner either.
Her name is on page 10.
Move on to the annual general meeting, the annual report. Councillor McKinnon, did you want to?
Sure, I'll move receipt.
Moved by Councillor McKinnon. approval, yes, approval.
I approve it.
Seconded by Councillor Rapp. Discussion. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Point of order, you do have to call for public input at this point in time, in regards to the annual general meeting.
Yes, I see that. That's item B. Item B is the annual report public input. Anybody have any public left to do any input on the
We're worn out.
Okay, so we'll just, I don't think we need a motion for any of that, do we?
No, and then you have Andy, sorry, Councillor McKinnon and Councillor that
Approved. Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Yeah. And that's been voted on. Did it? No? Okay. Those all in favor? Opposed? Carried. I thought it was, but anyways. Next we go to the public communications report, and yeah.
Move receipt of both.
Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Little. Discussion. Councillor Rapp.
All I wanted to say was that in the RCMP report, I just want.
Just before we go, was the RCMP report?
Is that both of them you were moving?
I was moving both, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Rapp.
Was the comment that the stolen muffin leads to arrest?
The stolen muffin?
Was highlighted my reading.
Oh, jeez.
That's all.
Where is it?
It's on. I'll find it.
Okay, any further discussion on the public communications report and the RCMP quarterly report? There being none, call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. That ends the business. There will be no question period given the time. Thanks everybody who's stuck this out.